Good afternoon, Nguyen. It's so nice to see you today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Let's see. Today is Sunday, April 2nd. It's 1:53 in the afternoon. This is our second interview as part of the oral history project, which is called History in the Making, documenting stories of immigrant and refugee students at Montgomery College. So we're doing a follow-up interview to our first interview from last week. And as a reminder to our viewers, I am interviewing Nguyen. Can you pronounce your name correctly for me?
Uyen,
The whole
yeah.
name?
The whole name gonna be Uyen Phuong Nguyen.
Thank you so much. Who is originally from Vietnam and now lives in College Park, Maryland. She was a student MC in 2018 and is now a teaching assistant in the computer science department at the University of Maryland at College Park and is a staff member at the Vietnamese American Television in Arlington, Virginia. So welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. As a reminder, if there are any questions you do not want to answer, feel free to just skip them. That's perfectly fine. If you need a break, that's also fine. We'll take no more than an hour today. And let's just begin with the first question. If you could state your full name again for me, please.
My full name is Uyen Phuong Nguyen. Uyen pronoun is U like university, Y like yes, E like evening, N like noon, Phuong like P like pool, H like high, U like university, O like off, N like no, and G like good. Nguyễn like N like no, G like good, U like university, Y like yes, E like evening, and N like no.
Thank you so much. And do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes, you have.
Thank you so much. I wanted to start with a couple of follow-up questions related to our first interview. When I went back and listened to your interview again, I realized that I had misunderstood the answer to one of your questions. You were talking about the first time that you were in prison after being arrested for your demonstrations or your distribution of leaflets related to your activism related to the Chinese presence in the South China Sea and your advocacy for the fishermen, the Vietnamese fishermen in the South China Sea. So you were in prison and you were feeling incredibly lonely. You described how the food was full of insects, how you were feeling hopeless about your situation. And then you said that you had this experience of a woman who was like a mother expressing empathy to you. And I thought when I heard that in our first conversation, that you were talking about another prisoner who showed you kindness. But when I replayed the interview, I realized that you were describing a spiritual experience related to the feminine incarnation of the Buddha. This figure is sometimes called Kuan Yin or Guan Yin. I've also heard Quan Chin in some pronunciations. And I believe in Vietnamese, it's pronounced May Quan if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. So what I would love for you to do is if you could go back to that time and describe your experience and maybe explain to readers who are unfamiliar with this religious figure, tell us a little bit about her.
So when I was in the jail, the prison, so, I'm crying.
Sure.
I'm crying both inside and outside. And then imagine like you have a kid, 3 year old who crying. Yeah, I crying like that. And imagine you have a model, the model of the 3 year old kid. One model is like that. So I crying and she care about me like the model care about the 3 year old kid keep crying. But the Quang model didn't talk to me to realize me, doing anything, but just by her eye contact, I can feel that, like, I can feel something from her, the energy or something. I can't describe by any word, but the feeling. So yeah, the model I mentioned in that conversation is quantum model.
So you felt some sense of compassion for your suffering?
Yeah, I do. And there's something I want to say about quantum model, the Buddhist. Like I didn't recognize this, but after release from jail, when I have more contact with a church in Saigon, that's the Kỳ Đồng Church. I usually go to the church and stand in stand around with the Maria model status.
The statue.
Yeah, statue. So I think they may both the same because these are also people name them as model. And also I feel when I need them, like a kid need model. So I always have them for support for my mental and spiritual. So I believe
Your
they may
mental
be the
and
same.
spiritual health.
Yeah.
I think some religious scholars have pointed out some similarities between the figure of the Virgin Mother in the Catholic faith and this figure of Kuan Yin in the Buddhist faith, and that there are similarities related to the idea of a mother figure offering compassion for those who are suffering, or a figure who listens to those who need help. Do you see those parallels?
Yeah, I believe so. Like back to the history, 1975, when there's a lot of Vietnamese people, boat people, come to the US by the boat. So a lot
The
of people
Vietnamese
die
boat
on the
people.
sea. Yeah, a lot of people die on the sea, and I have chance to listen to some of them who survived after that, saying that when their boats almost sink to the sea, they pray for Mother Quang, the Buddhist, and then the miracle just happened. Some of them get on another boat. When the other boat, there's some other people seeing their boat sink into the sea, and some of them just on the sea several days, but somehow they get into the land. So
Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story about your faith and about the Vietnamese boat people who were looking for strength during, I'm sure, what was a terrifying experience. I really appreciate you sharing that. My next question is also a follow-up question to the previous conversation we had. You mentioned that you had some support from an organization that helps refugees, and you mentioned the LIRS, LIRS, which I think stands for, let me see, I pulled up here, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. Could you tell me a little bit about how this organization helped you to get asylum status in the United States, or if they helped you with your relocation? What was their role?
their role helped me to get used to the life in the US when I located in the US. So I get help from the US consular and its official on my status to get here. So after I get here, the organized and actually a staff from Lutheran service helping me to get used to the life in the United States. For example, they walk me on the street and teach me how to adhere the traffic flow on the street, like using the line for the walker. Yeah, that's so simple, but it's not in my country. So I like that. Also, they also support me about financial for 6 months. Yeah, by food stamp and also cash. Yeah, that's help also.
I
But
imagine. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, but they want me go to work as well. So after 6 months, I need to go to work. But you know, my plan come to the US is for education to get an officer for education. So I actually don't like go to work full time. Yeah.
It would be
Uh,
hard to work full time and go to school while you're trying
yeah.
to learn the language and readjust to the culture. That's
Yeah.
a lot for a refugee to face.
So at that time, I feel I have a choice, go to work or continue education. But I realized that I don't need to go to work if I just need a basic living cost, and I still can go to MC. So my friend, who I believe, who I treat as my uncle, yeah, I I earn him a lot because I rent him amount of money during the time I go to the college. Yeah. And actually, the United States is very good in service support for poor students like me. I never pay for tuition. Yeah, but also I get money from the financial aid as well. Like it's not much, $1,000 per semester. That's not much, but that helps a lot.
I've heard that refugees have to pay back their airfare within a certain number of months. Is that true?
Um, when I come here, I pay, I believe that around $2,000 for the trip from Vietnam to the United States, and I need to pay that. Um, I know that some people didn't pay that. I'm not sure, but in my case, I paid that with really low rate, like $30 per month. Yeah, I don't think that's much, and I don't need to pay it immediately. Yeah, I can delay it until I graduate from the school, but I just pay it anyway.
Can you tell me a little bit about when you first arrived? You said there's someone who is like an uncle to you that helped you with your adjustment or with your housing here?
Yeah, um, I live in his house. His name is Don Vo. He's a handicapped person, and yeah, he's a handicapped person. He's also MC former student.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, and he really value education because when he come to the US, he spent like 10 years for his undergraduate degree. So he likes to help me because he also support for human rights and political issue in Vietnam. He
He's
support
originally
me.
from Vietnam too?
Yeah, he support me when I was in Vietnam too.
Oh,
Yeah, you remember my parents not have enough money pay for me when I go to the school, the international school named RMIT or MIT. Yeah, they don't pay for me, but that uncle helped me to um, some amount of money.
and was it this man who told you about Montgomery College?
Yeah, exactly. I applied for MC in 2015. Yeah, that's uncle helped me to apply to MC because I know nothing about which school is good or not at the time, especially 2-year college. I know some 4-year college, but not 2-year college. And he said that MC college is a good choice because he already experienced his education in MC.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so he applied um, for my application as MC, and I have a sponsor who is another person because he want to make sure the school gonna accept me. So he have another person suppose for my financial issue in MC and finish the document in MC. So finally, MC accept me and as an international student. So um, they send me the document so that I can apply for F1 visa. But it turned out that the government didn't allow me to go to the United States as an international student. So they didn't offer me the passport. So I don't have a passport at the time. Yeah.
So did you have to then apply for asylum status?
Uh, the refugee status.
Refugee status, yes.
Oh, that's in 2015. But then 2 years later, I just applied for refugee because I worry that if I apply for refugee, I have no chance to back to Vietnam. Yeah, and people in the uh, human rights, um, like other activists in Vietnam, they don't want the people leave the country as a refugee. They don't want that. That's like a shame or something. I don't know. But yeah, but by the consular, the US consular and Uncle Ton Vo, I understand that that's not any shame. That is a right. Actually, that's a rule of law, uh, human right law. When you have somebody harassment, the related to political issue, you can leave the country as long as this another country accept you. So I understand that law, and I decided to leave the country.
Can you tell me a little bit about your experience when you first came to Montgomery College? How did you feel when you first started classes, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I come to MC in Rockville the first time, and in the office, I saw the flag. Do you remember the flag in 1975? The yellow flag with three red lines.
You
That's
mentioned that in the last interview.
yeah. I surprised that because it's never get hand in my country,
Mm.
and now in UMD I never get in an office that hand the flag as well. So I surprised with that at that time. I surprised that MC has an office hand that flag. Oh yeah, I'm proud of that. And
Did it make you
uh
feel welcome to see that flag?
yeah, because usually people hand the red with the yellow star flag than the other one.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like diversity. Yeah, actually,
And
I
did
I
you
have I have no
sorry.
conflict with I have no conflict with the people who hand the other flag, but just the political issue. I want somebody, the government, respect the history and also human rights. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that. So you saw that flag, and then did you begin your classes with the American English language program at that point? You started taking English classes?
At that point, when I go to the office, that is the first time because I want to follow up the application in 2015. So yeah, that's in the winter, December. Yeah, and there's a professor who helped me to um, do something like choose the major that helped my case. So I choose general study so that I can get financial aid on some courses like English courses. So the first course I take is ESL 225 or 223. But if I take 223, I need to get in Rockville. So I take 225 and I get that class in Tacoma Park. Yeah, with Professor Annie, Professor or teacher Annie.
Okay.
Yeah, repair for the English equipment. Yeah, that's in my first class.
So you started taking classes with the Workforce Development Program, WDCE, the ESL classes
Uh,
for
I
our,
think that's ESL, but I'm not sure about the WDCE.
yeah, it's called WDCE. The ESL classes are part of that program, Workforce
Uh,
Development and Continuing Education.
gotcha.
So you
Yeah.
started with those classes. Were they difficult?
Uh, they not difficult, but they give me a chance to interact with other person who like me.
Good. Did you meet other Vietnamese students or students from other parts of the world?
Yeah, I meet the student from other part of the world, like from other country. Yeah, actually, I have my first friends who we keep friendship until now. We both major in computer science, and she just graduated from UMD last semester. Yeah, her name is Priscilla. So I meet her in MC.
Where is she from?
Uh, she was born here, I believe.
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
sure I'm not sure where she was born, but she grew up in the United States.
Okay. She grew up in the United States, but was taking ESL classes?
Oh, not ESL classes. I mean later
Oh, later. Okay.
when I take credit class.
So something
Oh,
that
by 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 the way, do you remember Olusula? Olusula is a student of you as well in ELAB program,
oh,
and I make friend with her as well.
that's lovely. I'm so happy to hear that. Are you still friends with students from that class?
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
nice. So you had this opportunity to meet students from other countries, but did you find that they were, even though they came from different backgrounds, they had similar experiences and similar challenges that you had?
They have different challenges. Like their country had different issue. Yeah, for example, instead of political issue, actually the original is related to political issue anyway, but other issue in their country like business problem or about breathing problem. Yeah, it's so unorganized country.
But did you find that as you were experiencing your life as a student, that you had similar experiences related to stress or related to cultural adaptation or related to worries about money, things like that? Did you find you had commonalities with the other students?
Yeah, yeah, of course, about that aspect. Yeah, you correct because yeah, we both worry about spending too much time in MC and we never forget graduate. How about that happen? Yeah, at the time, yeah, I know that's stupid thinking, but at some point we think about that because we just taking English class. When we gonna graduate, we don't know. We didn't know at the time.
You wanted to quickly get to your credit classes, right?
Yeah,
That's what a lot of students say. They sometimes feel frustrated that they have to take English first before their credit classes. I think other students have mentioned that to me. Can you tell me though, looking back, do you feel like those English classes helped you to be successful in your credit level classes?
yeah, of course, of course. I remember when I start your first E-Lab class, your E-Law. I don't remember the number, but that's my reading class. And after that class, I feel my level of language increased dramatically because from knowing nothing about the general vocabulary, like saying about the panda habitat, I know nothing about that, even about the knowledge or vocabulary. But after that class, I have more vocabulary related to that aspect and also the knowledge. Uh, After your first class with you, I take the credit class in math, calculus one, and then that's helped me because the reading skill really need in the class. So strategy to scan to the material I learned from the reading class very helpful. Like scan to and highlighting the main idea. Also, the vocabulary I learned from the class helped me prepare for conversation with professor. So, like asking for question, clarify question or something like that.
I feel
Yeah.
very happy to hear that these skills related to building academic vocabulary or to scanning for information, highlighting, organizing your thoughts. This makes me feel very happy to hear that it was applicable in your other classes, including even math classes. That's really good to know. So thank you for sharing that. What other
Yeah.
experiences at MC were beneficial to you as a new student? Did you ever, for example, go to the writing center or to other learning centers on campus to help you with other classes?
Yeah, I did go to the writing center in terms of an assignment because I get not a good grade on the assignment, I believe. So I curious why I get a bad grade like that. So I go to the writing center and the professor there helped me to check on my assignment, analyze the each sentence for me to understand and the main idea about what I wrote relate to the topic I write. Yeah, help me fix the grammar also and make the essay more concrete. So yeah, I go to the writing center, and from that I like the the library environment. So I usually stay in the library to do assessment after the class because I love the environment in the library. It's quiet enough for me to focus on doing schoolwork.
I love the library at MC too. I like the quiet space there, and the fact that you can find so many resources there to help you, from quiet spaces to computers to books. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the library is a wonderful.
I forgot to mention something. One time, I think Professor didn't mention that, but I figured out that. So I go to the writing center and on the computer in the writing center, I find out some software amazing. Uh, yeah, I don't think that's offered for free at anywhere but the writing center. So you go to the computer and some software related to psychology or something like that, just open it out and it gives some material, also question about the material, help people learning about that.
Was it related to your psychology class, the software you were using?
Um, it, one time I go there because I curious, so I open the software. It's not related to my class, but I feel it's gonna benefit other students
I love
taking
the
the
way
class.
that you always are looking for ways to have technology help you with your learning. This is something that you come back to again and again, and I think it's wonderful the way you discover all these resources along the way. Um, if you today met new students at Montgomery College who maybe came from another country, what advice would you give him or her about how to succeed at Montgomery College?
Uh, about like I think there are two advice for them. First thing, if they try to improve their English skill and vocabulary, don't be shy to interact with other person.
Don't be shy to
Yeah,
interact. Okay.
yeah. Even they make mistake, but it's gonna improve by time. Even the first time they talk to other person and they don't understand, just repeat it until they understand. If they tired, just don't give up.
Don't give up. Don't be shy. Keep interacting with other people. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And
Um,
for the credit level, like other course, don't be shy to ask the professor to clarify like vocabulary you don't understand, that they can find other vocabulary to help you understand. Yeah, because I have trouble about that as well when I teach calculus one, and a professor used a word not familiar to me, but then she explained and use another word. I understand that, and I learn another vocabulary. So don't be shy to ask the professor as well.
Don't be shy to ask the professor. I like that advice a lot. Did you ever go to office hours of your professors? Do you recommend going to office hours? Is that something that helped you?
Yeah, I actually go to office hour of a TA instead of a professor. I usually write email to professor, then go to their office hour because I feel like they're gonna busy with other students. So I first approach with the TA first, and then if not helping my problem, I'm gonna reach to the professor. And office hour or TA offered by MC, I feel that's useful.
Now you're an assistant, you're helping other students. Do you feel like you have a lot of empathy for the students who come to you for help because you were in a similar situation?
Yeah, yeah, I feel sympathy when they come to ask a question, and actually some of them get a question like me having that before. Yeah, and I learned to be a good teaching assistant by not answer like give them the solution, but try to lead them to the solution by explaining and make them understand the material to work for the assignment instead of have them understand the solution. I'm gonna give them not doing that.
That is a great thing to realize as a teacher, to help the student get to the solution on their own instead of giving the answer. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like I understand how my professor like you and other professor doing that way. Yeah.
You can see that now because you're teaching and you're assisting, so you understand that now. Did you
Yeah.
feel well prepared for your experience at the University of Maryland at College Park? Did you feel like Montgomery College prepared you well?
Yeah, I think Montgomery College in my first choice in MD state. Actually, I refer um, my younger student apply for MC next semester because I believe MC is quality enough to repay him for 4 year college. Um, for example, when I apply to transfer from the MC to UMD, I didn't lose any credit. Actually, I get 75 credit, but the maximum count is 60 credit because my number credit is at 6 because as a normal student, they just need to satisfy the requirement, and 60 credit is enough for them to get the degree. So when transfer to UMD, they count 60 credit as
You were
general study.
So you were able to transfer 60 credits over from Montgomery College to University of
Yeah,
Maryland. Yeah.
yeah,
That
and
enabled
so
you to begin as a third-year student at University of Maryland?
yeah, I begin as a third year student, and yeah, like I say, number of credit is counted. So some class like calculus 1, 2, 3, linear algebra, or the CS class I taken from MC, the computer science class taken from MC, or all of them is counted as University of Maryland. So I
That's
don't need
great.
to retake it.
So that saved you time and money then.
Yeah, I don't need to retake it, and also don't need to take the attempt exam also. Yeah, I need to say that because some 2 year colors, um, if I transfer from some other 2 year colors, I need to take the attempt exam, I think.
Which exam is that?
Like you already take the class in the 2-year college, but you also need to take the exam at University of Maryland so that they validate or evaluate your knowledge in terms of that class, the material. Yeah.
So would you say the transfer process was relatively easy to understand to transfer from MC to U Maryland?
It's easier to transfer from MC to Maryland because I don't need to take that exam. They count it directly. Yeah.
My next question has to do with your experience as an Asian refugee in Montgomery County. There has been a lot of talk over the past few years about the Stop Asian Hate movement. This is something that many of my students talk about discrimination against Asians and Asian Americans. Have you experienced discrimination or stereotyping? And if so, how have you responded to that or dealt with that problem?
I think that's after the COVID, the first time I go to UMD and they taken a math class underground. When I waiting for the class to start so that I can get in the room, I sit in a bench. There's another student, maybe a native one. When I sit on the bench, he just stay away from me, and then he saying something I'm not listen to it clearly. But I think that's kind of maybe hurt other a person like that. Yeah, by doing that, maybe hurt, feeling hurt. But I just ignoring that because I think too much about that. That's it. So instead of thinking that he is doing something discrimination, I just thinking that yeah, maybe I think too much, so I don't care about it anymore.
Do you feel, how do you, how can I put this? If you face an experience where maybe you feel like people are stereotyping you or making generalizations about you, how do you help people overcome those stereotypes? How do you share your culture with other people to help them better understand your experience?
I'm sorry because I'm kind of not explain to the person, except they ask me to explain for them. I'm not go first to explain for them because they don't have the means to understand. Why do we need to explain for them? Yeah, they're gonna reject. So I'm not doing that first. Instead, if they ask, I'm gonna explain for them.
If
Yeah.
someone asks you to share your Vietnamese culture with them, what would you tell them or what would you share with them?
Yeah, I usually say with them about the holiday. Yeah, so they're gonna see that. Also, I'm gonna say with them the traditional like in cultural we counting 8 different than US. And like my friend, we talked a lot about food
Food, yes.
because yeah, but I think people like food, so food is a good topic to start a conversation.
Food is a very good topic to start a conversation. I agree. Let's see. I wanted to ask you a question about your future. When you imagine the future, say 5 years from now, what do you see for yourself? What do you hope for yourself?
Yeah, I hope I'm getting in the graduate school and try to do research. So because I'm attracting to the US because the high qualify of education. So now I'm just want to get higher in my education, higher is higher like different experience. Now I am a student who learn the material. How can I'm being a researcher who create a material in the future, right? So I want to try that in 5 years. I'm applied for MS program. That is a combined program, BS and MS. So I can finish the MS in 1 or 2 years faster. After that, when I have some experience in doing research, I'm gonna go to industry. Yeah, and at that time we will know.
So
Yeah,
you see yourself working in the field of computer science and continuing your education, going to grad school, doing research.
yeah. On the other hand, in my life, there are two things. One thing is about education, and one thing I commit to myself that as a Vietnamese, I want to support for my country in terms of political and human rights issues there. I want to better life, the Vietnamese life in my home country. Yeah.
Do you want to
So
continue working in the field of human rights, like as an
yep.
activist or in terms of educating people or working in journalism? How would you do that?
The way I work in, the way I contribute to that is not like an activist, but it seems like a supporter more than that. Like if uh, I care about women and students because I was a student activist and a woman also. So there's some case need help to and they want to leave Vietnam for the US. I'm willing to prepare the document for them and like not lobby but like contact to senator or the people work in the United States who take care about that and have power to help the case. Yeah,
So to
I
continue helping other maybe women in the same situation as you to adjust, to be able to come here and adjust and get an education.
yeah, education and help them to start new life in the United States where they don't worry about harassment anymore.
Yes, I can imagine you doing great things in that area. When I think back to the story that you told me about how you first became involved with activism and how your you were so worried that you would not be able to continue your education and you had all these problems in Vietnam. When I think back to that experience and where you are now, I think
Yeah,
it's really remarkable how much you have accomplished in a short amount of time. So my question for you next is, if you could tell someone in a similar situation who is feeling that sense of hopelessness that you felt when you were in prison, what message would you give to them, thinking back on your own experiences?
yeah. That's hard to say because when I was in the same situation with I I usually have a nightmare about that until now. So I just pray. Yeah, I think about the model of nature, like Maria or quantum model, or even that I go to the temple and learn meditation. Meditation helped me a lot in mental and physical health as well. So I recommend them learn the method of their own belief. not necessarily meditation, but maybe in their religious, they have another method, learn that's gonna help their mental health. And the mental health is very important
It's very
to
important.
to overcome the challenge.
Thank you for sharing that. How do you feel today about our discussion, about this conversation? What emotions are you feeling right now?
Yeah, you know what? From I already the United States like 5 years, more than 5 years, and I'm about to get my U.S. citizenship. And from the person who are introvert, kind of, now I am open to the other person more by the process learning English. So I keep practice interact with person without side, even that opposite with my habit. Like I'm talkative and lazy to interact, but because I want my English skill improve, so I need to do that. And during the time, is keep me open-minded and open to other people. So I like to share.
I love that you are, even though you're introverted, maybe a little shy by nature, you're now willing to keep trying, even if there are mistakes, you're willing to communicate and open up to learn more and to share your experiences with others. I think that is something that is such a valuable lesson for other English language learners and for all students. Is there anything that you'd like to add at the end of this interview about your experience, or any other final thoughts before we conclude?
Uh, I don't have any question to ask, but like, I just wanna say thank you to you and other professor in MC have bring me to another better version of me right now, and bring me good experience during my time at MC. Um, give my life more rememberable. Like I have a lot in my heart right now about the time at MC.
Well,
Yeah,
we in the at Montgomery College and in the English Language for Academic Purposes program feel so grateful to have students like you. And so once again, let me say thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it will benefit others. So thank you so much for your time today. We're really grateful to have students like you in the MC community.
thank you.
I'm going to stop recording.